Hey everyone, this is Gayle, and I am back with part 2 of my fairy house. And you'll see here I've got some clay on my table, and I'm going to try to completely make this fairy house out of scrap clay. So here I brought out all of my black and white scraps and I blended those into a gray. And this is my pink and orange and whites and things that were all together in pinks. And I think I'm going to use this for the door and the shutters for my windows. And I've got plenty over here. See, here's some that's got a lot of green in it, so I'll probably use these for my plants and my vines. And then I just have some miscellaneous colors in other bowls. I try to keep the colors as separated as I can. You know, I put all my pinks and oranges and, you know, that type color in one bowl, and my greens in another, and my blues in another, and my black and whites in another. But I've told you before, I don't have a lot of craft space, but there's also a lot of wasted craft space that's over in the corner of my little desk area. Excuse me, I got to pull my chair up a little closer. And so I set the bowls back there. It's kind of behind my pasta machine. So let me... Sorry, I decided to move some of these blades. I have blades all over the place this morning. So let's just decide what we're going to do with their house. Now, in the last video, I showed you how I covered this votive, trimmed it, and I added some texture. And this, the closed part, the bottom of the votive is going to be the top of my fairy house, so it'll be open on the bottom, and that way I can put a little, I don't use a votive candle, I use the little electric votive, and I just get mine at Dollar Tree. You can get like 6 in a package for $1, and that way when the battery runs out I don't mind throwing it away. But so here we are. This is still raw clay. It has not been baked yet. And I've decided on this, on the other one that I did, on this one, I did sort of a peaked door. But you see, it does look like wood. It's got wood grain in it. I don't know if you can tell or not because it's kind of shiny. So what I'm going to do this time, I believe, is I'm going to make a round, not round, but sort of an oval door. And these are oval cutters that are very similar to my circle cutters that I showed you in one of my other videos. It's a graduated set. And actually this is 2 sets because I got the scalloped cut and also the smooth cut. And I just put them in one container. They fit in there. And this is the next to the largest smooth cut that I'm using, but you would use whatever shape would fit your votive, whatever, because like in this one it would have been a bigger one. I probably would have used the big oval if I was doing an oval one there. So I'm going to find a spot where maybe there's some little imperfections that I don't particularly care for, like maybe right there. See right here, there's some dents where I had a fingerprint. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to place it and try to get it straight and just cut. Now you know my votive is round, so you've got to kind of go from side to side. And I don't think I cut through in several places, but the main shape is there, so you can just cut all the way through with your blade. And then just pull this clay off. And you can see how well it's stuck to the glass. That's why I tell people, unless you're going to be knocking it around or something, you really don't need to attach this to, you know, use anything to glue this to glass. Now, if it is going to get some bumping around, then you might want to, sorry, I'm looking for my knife. I had it out. Maybe I put it away for a change. This is not it, but it is one of them, which means it's laying out here somewhere. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my other little knife out. Actually, here's one. I lost the cover to this knife, so I just grabbed some scrap clay, stuck this up in it, pulled it out, put this in the oven and baked it, so now I have a polymer clay cover for it. But I'm just going to trim this up a little, and I think I'm going to even this out a little bit. I don't think I want it to curve in at the bottom. I think I'll like that better, just coming kind of straight down here when we get to the bottom. So that's going to be the shape of my door. Now, because I used this cutter to make the door, I'm going to use this cutter to actually make the other part of the door. And I'm going to, let's see how I'm going to do this. I'm going to press the, let me go over to the side a little bit so I can have more left over to use. I'm going to press the top and then come straight down here like I did the door. And this didn't go all the way through because I didn't want to put a mark in my clay. So I'm going to use that for shutters. And you can trim up the edges if you want. But what I'm going to do now, and I'll show you a couple of things that I have. This is just a plastic texture sheet, and this one does not have the name of the maker on it. There it is. It is Scratch Art. Scratch Art texture sheets. They usually come in a package of about 12 or so different textures, and I have a couple of sets, but this one has a really nice wood grain. I'm trying to get the light on it so you can see the wood grain. But maybe you'll see it better on here. But I am going to spray my clay with some water because I don't want this to stick. And I'm going to, you've got to decide whether you want the texture to come up or do you want it to go down. And I think I'm going to want it this way. And put it on there. And then I'm just going to roll it, not roll, I'm just going to rub over it with my acrylic rod to embed this texture into my clay. And I didn't get it very well, so I will just do it again. Let me dry this off. And what I should have done, I never think about this until after I do it, is I should put this on a piece of patty paper or plastic or something. And I have some plastic sheets here. I'm just going to roll that over and spritz this side with water. And you don't need a whole lot. And let me make sure this time, and to make sure that I get it, I'm going to push with the end of my rod. Sometimes when you roll with your rod, it doesn't give the same pressure all over. But if you just take the end, of course the end of mine is a little bit rounded. I believe this is a Lucy Clay acrylic roller. Some of them have a flat end, which really works even better because the flat side really helps you get an even texture. That should do it, I believe. I can look through here and look and see what may appear to need more stuff. And there we go. So there is a wooden door, but you know a door is made up of planks. So what I'm going to do is I'll just take a ruler. If I can find one that's clean. This drawer, I have a drawer right here in front of where I work. And a lot of times I keep that drawer open because a lot of the tools I use are in that drawer. And then I end up getting lots of little bits of clay. Although that's not going to be stiff enough. So let me take the little metal ruler I've got. You need something stiff. You could use the back of your blade. But I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to press some little dents in it so that it looks like it's a board. You don't want to cut all the way through. But just make your dents. See, that looks like some boards that have been put together. And this will really show up when you antique it at the end. I'm just going to cut that little bottom part off. Just trying to clean up the edges a little bit. Just remember, this is supposed to be fantasy. And I may, let me see, maybe if I put a card over this, it won't cut the rest of it, but I can go back to the round circle at the top. That seemed to work. Okay, so and this looks like the boards are a little bit crooked, but hey, it's a fairy house. So then also what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some more of this pink clay. I guess I shouldn't be putting this on top of my gray because now there's pink stuck to the gray. I have to remember to put it somewhere else. Or just move my gray. How's that? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make some little planks to go across here. Because, you know, you need something to hold your wooden sheets together. And I think I will also texturize this before I cut it. So get my scratch art sheet out again. And let's see, sometimes they have smaller and larger designs, but these all look pretty much the same. So again, I'm going to put some texture in here. Now, if you haven't watched my first part 1 of this series, you need to go back and look at it, because I do offer a lot of tips as well as the techniques that I'm going to be using. So please go back and watch that if you haven't already. And I'm just going to cut this, put some square, straight edges. Doesn't need to be very wide. And I almost forgot to dry the water off. You don't want water on your clay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut little planks. And I may just do 2. And let's see how wide I want them. You don't want them the whole width of your door. So then I will take these and I'll put one right about there. And I'll put one right about there. Make sure it gets stuck. Don't press so hard that you lose your texture. And then I'm going to take a needle tool and I'm going to put little nail holes, because I'm sure that these fairies had to nail these boards together in order to make their door. And none of this right now is showing up very well, and that's because it hasn't been antiqued yet. But you're going to be amazed when we get to the end and we antique it. But I'm going to take this up now and fit it into our door space. I probably should have done that before. And I can see some edges that need to be trimmed that I didn't see before. Sometimes you just have to pick it up and look at it. There's just a few little raggedy edges. You also have to remember that this may not fit exactly into your space, so you may have to do a little trimming after you fit it in there. This is going to be a lot shorter than I was thinking. So I think I'm going to pick these up and move them up, which means this one needs to be a little bit shorter. And then I have to put 2 more nail holes in it. And then I'll move this one up a little bit because I'm going to have to trim the bottom. So fit this back in. You can also put your door in here and then add all the little pieces to it. I'm pretty sure that's what I did on the other one, but I just started on my table, so I left it there. So there we go, and then you can do the same thing like we did before. Actually, this clay needs to be trimmed a little bit on the background. So that this will fit in. There you go. And just turn it over and take your blade and trim across the bottom. Now you notice it doesn't meet exactly, but that's okay because we're going to put something else here at the bottom. Doesn't even matter here if you press the texture out a little bit. But there's a door. Now we need some hinges. So I think I'm going to take the gray, even though it's probably going to change colors by the time we do anything, because I'm going to be antiquing. I'm going to be using mica powder. But I'm going to take this, and this is all rolled at a number 1. I'm going to make these a little smaller. What I'm doing is I'm going to be making hinges. Because you don't want them to be too thick. So that's a number 3. And all I'm going to do is cut some, I'm going to cut a straight edge and a straight edge, and then I'm just going to cut some triangles. And I'm only going to put 2 hinges on it, I think. So which way do we want the door to open? If we want it to open this way, we need the hinges on this side. So let's put these little hinges. And I flipped one over and they got stuck together. You see, they're just little triangles. But I'll put one here at the bottom, right under that board, and I'll put one near the top, right under that board. And of course, we need nail holes in those too. So I'll put 2 at the bottom or on the side and 1 on the point. And all these little details are going to make a big difference when we get to the end where we get to the end, when we antique it. That's what I was trying to say. I probably should have made these a little bit thinner, but that's okay. They'll be fine. So I want to also make a little window. Let me see. I thought I got my little oval out, but evidently I didn't. This is the smallest oval from the Sculpey graduated set. Because we need to make a little window or something in here. I'll tell you what. Let me pause this for a minute, because one thing I forgot to get out was the toggle that we're going to use for the doorknob and door knocker. And I need to go get those, so I will be right back. Okay, sorry. I had to go look for my copper findings, which I still haven't found. Excuse me. But I have come up with a few things. These are some toggles that I did find. And this one is copper. It's thinner in gauge, but it's larger than this one that is thicker. So I'm going to just see what they look like. If I use this for a door knocker and this for a handle, Let me see if I use this one for a door knocker and this one for a handle. I'm not sure which one I like the best. I think maybe the gold one is a little too fancy for a fairy house. So I think I'm going to go with the copper. And then when I put my mica powders on here, I'm going to make sure I put some copper on there so it'll all blend in. So what I'm going to do here is, and I'm not going to leave these attached yet, but I'm going to make the mark where that little ring will go. And I've already made the mark where the little handle will go. And just before I get ready to bake these, I will put those on. But if I put them on now, they're going to just be in the way. So let's make a window. Let's put a window, let's see, on this side. And it doesn't need to be big. I've got that size oval. And my next size up is going to be pretty big. But maybe not too big for a window. They need to be able to see, right? So I'm going to try to place this on each side. It doesn't have to be exact, but I want to try to make it so that it'll be like door, window, window. I won't put one in the back because maybe that's where they'll sleep. Actually, I'm going to save that. And let's try to line this one up. And it doesn't have to be exact. The OCD is coming out in me. So I'll cut that one. So now we have windows. We could cut, and since I'm using a circular toggle, I probably ought to use, let me find a circle that I can put on the door. Maybe right there. So that it'll have a little peephole. And that's my Kemper cutter. You know, I love my Kemper cutters. Now what I had originally thought about doing was coloring these to use for the shutters, but I think I'm going to blend this pink back into a sheet. Please excuse me. And I'm going to cut these with the same cutter to make the shutters for the two windows. And what I'll do is I'll cut this in half. Well, let me go ahead and cut it in half. And then I'm going to roll this wood grain over it again, but I'm not going to, think I'll go the other way just to see what it looks like. So yeah, I sprayed that the wrong way. But you don't need a lot. And let me put this on my plastic sheet that I almost forgot again. Just because it's easier to pick it up. And I'm going to spritz the clay. I thought I would just spritz the thing, but so we're going to put some wood grain on the shutters. Don't press too hard though. We just want the wood grain in there. We don't want to make them any bigger. And what we'll do, since these are shutters, they need to look like they're opened up. So you would put this one over here, because the idea is in a storm they would close them this way. So put that one there, and this one over here, and we might make a little hinge for those too. And same thing over here. And there's our little hinges. Don't they look cute? And I'm going to get out my little thin piece of gray. And I think I'm only going to cut 2 hinges. And I'll put them on first, because I'll put one on here so that it looks like it's attached to the house. It's got to be attached to the house. And take the needle tool and make your little nail holes. And we do the same on the other side. I should have cut them all at the same time, but that would have made it too easy. And poke your little nail holes. I'm in the dark doing it on that side, so let me try it this way. I think I missed. Okay, so now we have shutters for our windows. And now's the time that you can just play. I think I'm going to also put maybe a little shelf. Well, I'll do that now. Alright, so I've done that. So let me put that aside for a minute and get out my gray. And what I'm going to do with my gray is I'm going I'm going to hold on to these little thin pieces just in case I need them. But what I'm going to do with my gray is I'm just going to tear it into pieces and make pebbles. And you want them all different sizes. I'm going to just roll these. And I'll show you what I'm aiming for. If you look at this, see how I did what looks like pebbles going around the door? And then I also put them across the bottom of the window. So I thought I would do the same thing. But you just roll these up, and like I said, you want different sizes, so just tear your clay into different size pieces and just roll them, and you want to flatten them a little bit. And you're going to need a lot of them, so I know you don't want to watch me do that. So I'm going to pause the camera while I make the rest of my little stones, and then I'll be back. Okay, I don't know if this is enough to go around my door, but I got tired of making them. So one other thing I think I might do, because I noticed I did it in my other if you look here, there's like a little frame that goes around the door, which kind of gives it a more of a defined look. So I think I'm going to put just a little skinny rope of clay around there. I'm just trying to mash this so that there's no air in it. And what that'll do is it'll kind of, see there's a little bitty gap here and things like that. It'll kind of fill in that gap and also give some definition to the door. And I think I've got way more clay than I'm going to need. And I may do the same for the windows. Let me see what I did. Yeah, see I did. I put some white in there inside the window. So I'm going to use the gray. I'm not going to use white. And if you have an extruder, you can extrude this. I think I've got it to this point, and I'm going to get out my acrylic sheet that I use for rolling clay. See how it evens it out? You can pull it a little bit. I wouldn't pull it too much, but I want it just a little bit skinnier. I'm just pinching this between my fingers and pulling. I'm going like this to create that little V. Now let's see how much of this we need. Let's put this right along the edge of your door. And using the gray will also help it blend in with the stones. That are going to go on next. Sorry. But just make sure like that has a gap. Just make sure that that goes in and covers up that gap. I'm going to just press it down pretty good to make sure it sticks. It doesn't matter if it flattens out because I'm going to be putting rocks, imitation rocks, but up here against it. So there we go. So I'm going to take some of the larger rocks and put them on first and just flatten them out as you put them on. And it's not that I'm being symmetrical, but I want to make sure that I leave room for the other rocks. And just kind of space out your larger ones. Don't get your fingernails in them like I just did that one, even though it really doesn't matter because it's a rock. It's going to have bumps and cracks and pits. And then just start filling in the spaces with the other size rocks, the ones that are not quite so big. See if I can get that one in there. And you can overlap them just slightly. And just kind of fill in where you feel like you need another rock. Whoops. Got my fingernail in that one good. You know, it's so funny because I go to get pedicures. Well, I haven't in a while because I can't really afford them now, but when I was getting pedicures, they always wanted to do a manicure. And I said, you know, I work with clay, and manicures don't last very long with me. And besides, I'm going to cut one in half. I don't need my fingernails to grow, but for some reason my fingernails have started growing. It seems like a couple times a year they get into this growth spurt. And when that happens, I'm not real diligent at getting them filed, so they end up making marks in my clay. See how that's turning out? Look like little rocks. Put that one in there. Where's the other half of that little one? But you just kind of play. This is the fun part where you just get to do whatever you want to do. You don't have to have round rocks. You can have oval rocks. You can have jagged rocks. See, there you go. See, there's my fingernail. But I'll worry about that later. I might just leave it. And then just fill in the way that you like. There's an oval shape. I need something right there, but I need something more like a long oval shape. So I think I'll put that one up a little higher and bring in a smaller one below it, just so it'll be a little bit different. I think I am going to need some more little clay balls. I was really hoping I could get this done. Because, you know, it's not only is it not fun for you to have to watch me make clay balls, it's not much fun for me making them either. I just imagine that the little fairies went out and gathered all these pebbles to decorate their little house. And be careful, I was holding that fairly tight. And I did. I put a dent right here. So I'll just have to make sure I put a flower there or something. So I'm going to make a couple more of these rocks. Actually, I can just chop these up into different sizes. And then I'll do the same thing over where the windows are. But let me show you the next thing I want to do with the rocks. Because you know it's all about texture. Now unless these are river stones, they're going to be kind of rough. So first I'm going to take my sandpaper, if I can find it. Where'd it go? I just had it a minute ago. There, I'm going to use this little sanding sponge. And I'm just going to press on those rocks to give them some texture, because like I said, rocks are not smooth. And I need to get one of my tools out. Oh, there's my knife. I put my knife in with my other tools. Get one of my tools out, and these are just, some people call them dental tools, and I think I'm going to put little grooves so it looks like it's intentional that they're there. You can use anything to do this. You can use your needle tool. You know, if you don't have any separate tools, just use what you have. It's one good thing about clay is you can use just about anything. Just remember, if you take something from your kitchen, don't take it back to your kitchen when you're finished. Buy a new one for your kitchen. And these actually are some tools that I bought from another clay crafter that was destashing most all of her clay stuff. She just wasn't going to do it anymore. So I bought, it's like a set of 5 or 6, but you can find them in a lot of different places. Just refine your shape if you feel like you need to. So then I've done that. Now I'm going to take my toothpick. You know me and my toothpicks. And I'm just going to start jabbing some holes in these rocks. Some of them will have more than others. But again, when you antique this, these are going to really make it look very natural. And you don't have to form a pattern, you just jab. There you go. So there's our door. And I'm going to do the same thing with the windows, and I need to stop and make some more gray rocks. So I'm going to do that and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've got my little rock, my little snake cut out. And it doesn't matter where you start this, because I'm going to show you how to get these to meet up and there not be a seam or not one that matters. But this one I'm going to lay inside of the oval of the window. Rather than put it on the outside, I'm going to put it on the inside, and it kind of covers up that raw edge of the brown clay. Now you see we're down here to the end. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to just lay it right over top of the other one. I'm going to cut through both of them. Take the excess away. Then I'm going to fold this one back and pull out the part that was on the bottom. And then when I lay this back in there, it meets up just perfectly. Now I'm still going to put the little lines around it, so you really don't even have to heal that too much, because I'm going to use my tool. And I just start right there where the little seam was. And put these little lines around it, but that way you don't have to worry so much about trying to measure and getting your little ring to be exactly the right length. It's much easier to do it that way. Some of you may already know that, but I know a lot of you are beginners, and I try to show you as many little tips as I can as I go along, things that I've learned through the years. It's been almost 20 years now. I can't believe it. And I still love it. I've never stuck with a craft this long, because something else always comes along that I like better. Now I do like my card making, but polymer clay is my first love. So I've already done the other window, and I used up my larger stones. So let me just roll a couple of these, just because I only got little ones left. And just kind of press them in. Now you don't need as many for the window, because this is just like a windowsill. It doesn't have to support a door or anything. It's just a decorative thing. Just looking to see how many I had on the other one. But you know, different windows could look different anyway. So again, I'm going to finish them with the sandpaper. And I don't believe I did the other side. And then I'm going to take my toothpick and jab them. I've got them on both windows. And there you go. So there's our door. And there's one window. I kind of messed up my hinge a little bit. I may end up having to repair that, but we'll see how it ends up in the end. And then we have another one. Now from here you can just start playing. Matter of fact, I might take some other shape cutters. Let's see what I've got in here. These are mostly my Sculpey cutters. But I've got a star. I could cut a star window. I still have my heart here, so let's cut a heart window. Let's cut a heart window kind of up closer to the top. And I'll cut and I'm just going to do them sort of haphazardly. And these are going to be more like little skylights. But let me pull these out before I forget where I am. pull out the inside where you cut. You could put stars. Actually, that's what I intended to do, was put stars, and then I saw the hearts and said, I gotta put a heart on there. Of course, there's nothing stopping me from putting stars. And the hearts. I can put as many windows in here as I want, because this is my fairy house. So I've got some little skylight type windows. Let me put a star. I'll make it small. I'll put little small star windows around here. I'll just put one there. And maybe one down here. And you notice I'm rocking it so it will go, all of it will cut. And 1, 2, I might put one right here. It might get partially covered up with the flower petal, but that's alright. But this is how you do your windows and doors. And I'm going to take a toothpick and go around and trim, you know, cut out some of this scraggly stuff that's in here. Clean up my cuts. But that is pretty much it for this video. This will be the doors and windows portion. I'm going to pull all these out. When we come back the next time, and I may not wait a week. I know waiting a week in between sessions is kind of difficult. So what I'll do is, when I get the next one filmed and edited, I will upload that. I don't know when it will be, but it may be off of our once a week schedule. But we will do the flowers and the vines and the decorations and the embellishments, and even maybe, even the top, because I need to bake it before I antique it. So I'm going to try to do all that next time. So everybody, if you've gotten your votive, try to get up to this point. If you haven't gotten it yet, go ahead and get yourself some kind of little glass votive. And, you know, it doesn't even have to be glass. I know people that have made fairy houses out of toilet paper rolls, tin cans, anything you can make a shape out of and put in the oven. So, you know, it doesn't have to be glass. I prefer glass because it just looks, it's good. So I will be back again with we'll finish up, well, we won't finish up, we will at least decorate, put doors, flowers and leaves and things on here, and then the last step will be to put the roof on. Then I will bake it. Then I'll come back and we'll finish it up by antiquing it and maybe accenting it with some perfect pearls or whatever. So everyone, I will be back soon and we'll work on this fairy house again together. Bye-bye.